welcome back to my channel. My name's Maddie if you're new here. I hope your day is going well and I need to do a thumbnail. Today we are going to do my April wrap-up and I read another 19 books in April. This has just been a thing recently. I haven't been able to hit 20, but I've been reading almost 20 books a month. And I don't know how I'm doing it, because holy shit, that's a lot. It's a lot of books. It's a lot. So let's go ahead and get into it, because there's a lot to cover in not a lot of time, because I gotta go to work in 2 hours. So hopefully there's not a lot of footage when I edit this tomorrow, because Jesus Christ, this is gonna be a lot to cover. Let's dive into the books that I read in the month of April. So in the month of April, I read 7 graphic novels, 1 middle grade, 4 teen books, 4 adult books, and 3 non-fiction books, which is actually pretty irregular for me, so that's super cool. Let's go ahead and get into the graphic novels first, because obviously there's always a shit ton of graphic novels every month. Let's get into them right now. I don't typically go into too much depth in graphic novels just because I read them so very fast. I don't really know what to say about some of the graphic novels because I don't do like in-depth dives into them, but if you guys want me to do more in-depth dives and like take notes on the graphic novels I read, I could do separate wrap-ups for graphic novels. Maybe like on my blog, because I did update a blog recently. If you want more of that, I could do that for you, but probably not in video format just because 2 videos a week is gonna be a little taxing because I'm starting a new job this month. So you're gonna have to bear with me on that, but if you do want more in-depth thoughts, definitely let me know. I just feel like I'm not going as in-depth because I'm trying to get to the other books that I have a lot to talk about. First graphic novel that I read was Zodiac Star Force. This I saw on Chelsea's channel. She said that she saw it from Allie from Hardback Hoarder. It's basically kind of like Sailor Moon, but like Aquarius and Gemini, those types of powers, and it's like a superhero team and they were really famous and they fight monsters and they've broken up and now they have to get back together because there are monsters again, and it was very fun. I love the artwork. I can't wait for more in the series because it's a real coat. I ended up giving Zodiac Star Force 4 out of 5 stars. The next graphic novel is Lady Cassel. This is also a very pro-women graphic novel. This is about a castle where the men have all died in the war that they went off to, and the ladies of the castle have to figure out how to do life, and they do it real well, and I love it, and it's adorable, and I highly recommend it. And following that was Misfit City. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars, guys. I would say this is kind of like a combination of Pirates of the Caribbean and Scooby-Doo, just mashed together with like lesbians. And it was so fucking good, guys. It was so cute. I can't wait for more. I think there's another volume coming out in like a month, and I just love it so much. It's so cute. It's so good. I love the artwork. I love the style. I love pirates. I need to rewatch Pirates of the Caribbean because of how many feels I got from the graphic novel, and it was just so cute. I love it so much. If you like power, like feminist and fun, cutesy graphic novels, you would like all the ones that I probably read this month because they're so cool. I ended up reading Giant Days Volume 6. I'm almost caught up entirely with this series. It is about 3 college girls. Super fun, super cute. I ended up reading The Backstagers Volume 1. This is about a backstage crew for like a high school theater, and it's gay and it's cute and it's wonderful, and I feel like I'm describing all of these in the exact same way, but really guys, they were really cute. I really liked all of the graphic novels that I read this month. I gave The Backstagers, I think, 5 out of 5 stars. It was wonderful. I ended up reading volumes 5 and 6 of Deadly Class. I really like this series. If you guys have probably noticed, I've been binging it pretty much every month. This is about a assassin high school, and the volumes that I read this last month were really interesting. They definitely focus more on different characters and new characters that they had been introduced in the last couple of volumes, and I really enjoyed that. I feel like this series definitely grew. Instead of being more shock value, it's a little bit more about what's going on with the actual characters, and I really liked that. Moving on to the middle grade I read this month, it was Thornhill by someone whose name I can't remember. Awkward. I really enjoyed this. This is kind of like a mixed media almost style book. It has pictures to kind of tell us what's happening in the present day, and then diary entries from what happened like 20-ish years ago, and it's really creepy. It's about a girl who is an orphan in this like home for girls, and she's being bullied and she's being abused, and then 20 years forward it's about a girl who moves in next door to where that home for girls was that has now been closed down, and it's really interesting to see how they weave together together the pictures with no dialogue and the diary entries from the past, and it's really, really cool and really, really spooky, and I really liked it. And then getting into the teen books that I read this month, I started the month with Wild Magic by Tamora Pierce. I want to finish the entire Tortle series this year. I don't know if that will happen. I struggled so much with Wild Magic. I remember not liking Wild Magic when I was a kid, and that's why I didn't end up reading further on into the series other than like the Squire series. But I just ended up giving this one 3 stars. This is about Dane. She has an affinity for animal magic. She has like the most animal magic that anyone has ever seen in the Tortle worlds before, and she gets kind of caught up in a quest that ends her up with a whole bunch of people from the previous series, and that was really interesting, but I just didn't connect with Dane again. I'm going to try and finish the series maybe in the next couple months, but we'll see, because I didn't enjoy the Wild Magic one very much at all, unfortunately. And the next teen book that I read in the month of May was Awakens by Elyse Cova. This is her first book, I think, ever. I ended up getting this from my store because she came in and did an author event for us. I was interested in it. It's about sorcerers, about this girl who didn't know that she had powers, and she ends up getting trained by the prince, and you know, all that stuff. I ended up really not liking it. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I even did a little bit of a rant on my Instagram stories. You can follow my Instagram down below about why is it that the heroine is always so like taken aback when some guy kisses her and she doesn't know that he likes her. It's like, why do you stand there like a fish and just let him kiss you? If you don't want to be kissing the dude, tell him. Otherwise he doesn't know. Well, I hope he would know. In this one, he just kind of stops kissing her because she's not kissing him back. I don't know if that's spoilery, but I just thought that this was a mess of tropes and just not healthy relationships that were really popular, you know, when Twilight was a thing, and I didn't love it. I do feel like this, being Elyse Cova's first book, definitely reflects that. I think she's grown a lot, considering her Dragons of Nova, I think that's the right title. That series is really good. I do plan on reading the rest of that series. I probably will not read the rest of this series, and I do think I plan on getting rid of this book, because I'm just not gonna read it again. And then following that, the next teen book I think is actually probably my favorite book of the month, and it is Emergency Contact by Marie H. Choi. This has been said that it's a new adult book, and I would say that that's not exactly true. If you think new adult is just sex, this book is, there's no sex. It's kind of mostly a friends to potential lovers situation. This is about Penny and Sam. Penny is starting college and she is 18. Sam is working in a coffee house and he's actually living there. He is 21, and they just kind of randomly meet one day and then kind of end up being each other's emergency contact, and they start this relationship via text, and they both have really intense life problems going on. Like, Penny's in a very different situation. She's starting college. Sam has a really scary situation where his ex-girlfriend is pregnant. Mary H.K. Choi just does a really good job of delving into real life issues, for me at least, and doing a good job at exploring how these characters handle them in a way that is so relatable and so truthful and so interesting. And I feel like she addresses issues that even I didn't know was an issue that I had at this time in my life, or even now. As a 24-year-old woman, I found that this was really, really good. It connected to me. It connected to the 18-year-old me. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. 5 out of 5 stars. I don't usually love contemporaries as much as I love this book, but I really do recommend it. It's really good. If you want me to do a review on this, just let me know. I will probably do that. No promises, because your girl's starting a new job and I need to stop making promises for things I can't keep. And the last teen book that I read in the month of April was Dredd Nation by Justyna Ireland. I ended up picking this up kind of on the whim, I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of a rewrite of history after the Reformation and the abolishment of slavery, if zombies just, you know, showed up. And our main character, Jane, is being trained to be basically a bodyguard for rich white ladies against zombies in this world. And she ends up finding out that there are some shenanigans happening in her town, and there's scarier things afoot than just the zombies, and it's really, really interesting. I really, really like the world. I really like the history of the world. I did like Jane. I did appreciate the fact that she has some serious flaws. I do think she grows a little bit, but I would say the last half of this book lost me. It just got a little messy. It was a little confusing. I felt like we were introduced to like sexualities really late in the story, and we had like random instances of like love interests just disappearing on us and then reappearing and then disappearing, and it was just kind of confusing. But otherwise, I'm really interested to see where Justyna Ireland goes with this series, because I'm pretty sure it's a series. I really liked it. I think it's really relevant to our times right now, and I think that if you're looking for a book with a African-American female main character who is badass, you should check this out. And then moving on to the adult fiction books I read this month, I will start with my least favorite being The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer. This book is about Greer. She starts out the book being an 18-year-old college student, and she is introduced to Faith Frank, who is like a very iconic name from the second wave of feminism, and it's supposed to be about like Greer having this feminist revolution and changing the world or something. I don't really know, but I didn't get anything out of this, honestly. I read this for work because I'm hosting an event for it, but I just didn't like it, really. I felt like Meg Wolitzer's prose was god-awful in some ways. I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars, but honestly, I really should have just given it 1. It just doesn't really make you think, and it's so innocuous. It's so inoffensive, and I know that the whole point of writing a book to address situations like with the Me Too movement isn't to offend. It isn't supposed to be like really brash, but I just felt like this book didn't do anything new. It didn't really raise any questions. It didn't really make me think. It just felt like Greer whined the entire book. It was just not great. I didn't like it. It was just kind of boring, in all honesty. But if you are interested in a feminist book that will make you think, the book that I read this month called The Power by Naomi Alderman is so good. It's so good. So this is about a kind of like distant future. Women and girls have developed the power to electrocute with touch. And holy shit, I anticipated loving this book. I anticipated loving it. I did. It was fucking amazeballs. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really loved it because it's not so much like what would happen if women ruled the world. Everything would be perfect. No, if women had a flip of power dynamic, the world would still be unequal, and there would definitely be a vicious shift in power. And I really, really, really liked that. It made me think. It made me question my own ideals. It made me really push the limits of what I've thought about myself. I also had to stop myself every now and again reading it, realizing that I didn't have the power to electrocute people, because the way this is written is so visceral and so real and so relevant to the times. As Victoria Schwab says in The Year of Our Nonsense, fucking electrocuting people is not something that would actually blow my mind anymore. I totally would have run with it at this point. I loved it so much. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's really good. I loved the narration. I loved the characters. I loved the way it was told, being kind of a history perspective. Really cool. Highly recommend. I'll move on, otherwise I'm gonna just keep talking about it. And I'll move on to another favorite book of the month, and that is Benti by... Shit, I don't know how to say this. Fuck. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm very sorry. This though, holy shit, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I don't know why I did this, but I did. This is a less than 100-page novella about a girl named Benti who is going to go to school, and she is one of the first people from her planet, or her culture at least, to do this. And she's been like shunned by her family. She's kind of like recognized the fact that she may never see her family again. And she's on this spaceship, and then this spaceship, actually, I'm not gonna tell you anything other than the fact that she's going to the school, because I feel like with 90 pages, there's so much that happens in this book, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But oh my god, it's so good. It's so powerful and moving and really interesting, and it's only 90 pages long. So fucking good. So good. This is my wrap-ups are kind of useless because I just tell you if it's good or not. Like, I don't really have any thoughts. Like, I can't review this other than say it's good because it's 90 pages and there's not a lot I should say to you because I don't want to spoil you for it. You should just read it. And then the last book that I read was adult fantasy, and that was Marksman by Rati Marotta. This book was a disappointment. I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I probably should dock another star. I've been really generous with my 2-star ratings. Like, I feel like I've had to be like really viciously hated a book to give it a 1 star now, but I honestly feel like I should just give 1 stars out if I really don't like a book. I just don't get it. I feel like if I read a book entirely, I can give it a 1 star, but I should. Whatever. That was a tangent. But 2 stars to Markswoman. This is about a world where there are tribes of women called Markswomen who basically are like guardians and warriors and assassins, and it's a very sacred art that they practice. And there's a separate tribe of men that are marksmen who are kind of like banished, and it's a very like matriarchal society, and our main character has this revenge path that she's on, and then her mentor, who is like the leader of her tribe, dies, and then there's this power struggle between the main character and this other woman, and the main character ends up leaving and ending up with the Marksmen tribe. With Markswoman, there were a lot of interesting tidbits. It definitely has fantasy elements, it has sci-fi elements, but I just didn't like the characters. I didn't get the motivations for any of the villains or the like antagonists in the storyline. There was so much fucking foreshadowing, and it was just not my cup of tea, in all honesty. I'm glad I read it. I have been trying to read as many diverse books and own voices books this year as possible, especially in adult fantasy. I ended up not loving this one, but I think that for the most part, my reading for the month of April was really good. And then the last section that we're gonna do is my nonfiction books. I ended up reading The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. This book is hilarious. If you don't know who Tiffany Haddish is, she is a comedian that has been in Girls Night Out, I think that's the right title, and then she'll be in another movie with Kevin Hart coming up. This is basically her memoir, and it's fucking hilarious and really fucking sad, so I highly recommend checking her out. She's hilarious. And the other 2 books that I read were actually writing craft books. I started with No Plot, No Problem, and this is actually from the creator of NaNoWriMo, and I enjoyed it. I ended up stopping reading when it got to the part of actually what you're supposed to read when you do nano. I do want to do nano at some point, but I need to be able to have the time to do it, and the point I don't have the time. I do want to at some point, and I think that book will definitely be a reference for me. The other book that I ended up reading was Thanks But This Isn't For Us by Jessica Page Morrell. This book is basically like how to make your writing better to get it accepted by, you know, an editor, and I thought it was really good. It definitely helped me see why I was having issues with writing my book. I have kind of backed off on that particular novel idea at the moment, as I've been super busy and I haven't been able to keep up steam, but it was really good to be able to see what writing styles she thinks is really marketable and what writing styles aren't, and it's actually helped me like review books better, because I feel like I'm reading a passage of a book and being like, why the fuck is this here? Like, Jessica Page Morrell told me this was shit, so why did you put it in this book that got published? But at the same time, obviously all writing craft is different, all editors are different, but I definitely think it's an interesting way to look at it. If I can recognize bad writing in another book, I can make sure that I recognize it in my own before I turn my book into an editor. So I don't have any issues with, you know, putting out things that aren't great just because I want to get published. I'm not gonna name names, but I think you probably know who I'm talking about. Alright, well that got a little salty towards the end there. I think that was it for the month of whatever the fuck. And that was the books that I read in the month of April. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna go now, guys. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Bye!